YouTube fans, I am here with one of my most respected competitors that I respect very much, Adam Cohen, fellow master middleweight lifter and all around amazing human. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ricardo. I appreciate the invite.
So Adam, for the viewers who don't know you, you like me can compete with the young guys. Since you're a little better than me in most events, you can actually beat quite a few of them. So I only beat some of them. You beat many of the pros in our weight class. Can you talk about what you've learned along the way through your strength journey that helps you at, how old are you, 54?
55.
55. Age catches up with all of us.
It does.
At 55 years old, what have you learned that you can apply now to your very serious arm lifting training among your other multiple pursuits?
I appreciate that. That's a great question. Thanks, Ricardo. And I do think of this as a journey where every day I'm learning something new. I think I have probably done some form of strength training almost every single day for the past 40 years, ever since wrestling and track and field in high school. I just haven't stopped since then. I had a lot of different pursuits along the way with strongman and other things. I've really found my home in arm lifting and grip sport. I love the community and all the competitors. One of the things that I think I've learned is that had a chance to probably engage in over 10,000 days of training over the past 40 years. Each day I approach it with a beginner's mind. I try to think about what could I try differently? What could I learn? What can I test and improve? It's one of the concepts I use in business too. How can I test something and have a measurable impact? There's so many people out there that I can learn from. I remember one of the first times I sat down with Carl, who's the greatest arm lifter I think of all time. He told me that when he was starting his arm lifting journey, he was watching videos of Alexei Tukalov, another one of our greatest lifters of all time. If I was thinking, Carl, this super strong human, can learn from others, there's probably some things that I can learn. But one of the things that he talked about learning was the importance of reverse wrist curls. When he's doing axle training or when he's doing Saxon training, making sure that he strengthens his wrists was something he picked up from Alexei. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So that was something that I filed away. But I think about all of the great lifters, including you, and some of the things that you've been doing recently with your Arm Lifting University, where you dissect some top lifts from across the different age groups and categories. You know, just recently, your idea of controlling the first couple of inches off the ground. I was like, that's a really great cue to think about, making sure those first couple of inches are meaningful. And of course, keeping it close to your body. Things we've learned along the way. Sometimes you just hear it in the right way and at the right time, you start to apply it. So one of the things that you had mentioned you started doing with the 60 millimeter axle, since that's going to be one of our upcoming events that I look forward to contesting with you, is the paused rep. So that idea of controlling the first couple of inches, making sure you've got it, then completing the lift. I do a lot of other forms of things with the axle and the Saxon, but paused rep never entered into the parlance until I saw you do it. And so I started doing that. Lots of different examples out there from folks that I've learned from. Those are just a couple of ideas.
Adam, thanks. If I can win the first couple inches in Las Vegas, I might have to make you work super hard on the anvil, which I know is one of your best disciplines. Yeah, the paused reps are oh, you got it right there. I love it. Yeah, at the rate you're going, you're going to beat most of the heavyweights in that one. But the paused rep has worked for sure to get me tight off the floor and keeping it close, because with that bigger axle, any millimeter of drift, you're toast. So I really have been honing in on the optimization, and I'm sure you are too, on how I can do better. I mean, obviously, neither one of us is going to deadlift with Carl on an axle, right? We're not ready for that. He's too big and he's too strong and too good. But we both can improve and optimize even into our 50s and set PRs. And I think that is the fun challenge of arm lifting, at least for me, is that you can improve and keep improving.
Yeah, so, I agree. And I think, I look at every implement as like a puzzle to solve. There's so many variables and technique implements, and the reason technique aspects to it. The reason I brought out the anvil is because I knew it would be something you'd bring out. But even just today, I was doing the anvil, and normally I grab the anvil pretty high up so that it hits, pretty much right at the base of my pinky. But for some reason, it wasn't feeling so great today. And I grabbed a little bit lower, which seems counterintuitive because now I've got this big gap here. But it was something about the additional purchase of skin on it that led to, a greater hold for time. And one of the things that I've picked up along the way is when I make those little adjustments, having a little like $30, I think this is called like a digital crane scale or something, but you attach the bottom end of it to a fixed object, you attach the top end of it to your implement, and it will record your max, force produced. And so I can do 2 rapid reps in succession with 2 different hand positions or foot positions, and I can see exactly, very objectively which one was more powerful. And so those types of things of like tweaking along the way, I think make arm lifting really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. The instant feedback of that digital device is you can't fake it. That's for sure.
Right.
I found with the anvil, and again, my hands are maybe a little different shape than yours, shorter, fatter fingers. I grip it lower on the anvil too. The high up, it does not feel good. And again, intuitively, you'd think, oh, I have more surface area around it. It's not the case with that implement. And because it's asymmetrical, I'm sure the physicists out there can better crack the code on the geometry of it. But I know when the loading pin is on the floor, and I know when I'm holding it, and down low is better for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's, one of the exciting things of that whole idea of test and improve and trying something and tweaking. And I'm always kind of see what I can do to get just a little bit more out of it. And every day trying to get that, 1% better. So we'll keep seeing what those 1% betters turn out to be when we show up at the Olympia.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, can you talk about what it's like? Because I know you and I are both very disciplined on keeping records of your training. Can you talk about that nuance of record keeping and why it's so valuable for you?
Yeah, for me, that whole idea of test and improve, I need to have measurable results. And so I like to see progress over time. And so I have recorded, every single lift for the past 40 years. So, before the phone, it was on, written journals, which I have over here. But for probably the past 6 or 7 years, I've used a training app. I happen to use something called Gravitas. If other people are on that, look me up under Adam Cohen. Would love to have you following me and follow you. Whatever you use, I like knowing that every time I can make a slight incremental improvement. So, even if it's adding a microplate of a ½ pound, seeing that little symbol that says you got a PR today makes my day. And so I try to see how many of those PRs I can stack up, even if it's only, a ½ pound at a time, but seeing that progress along the way. And then I also take notes about, what my hand position was. And so again, with this guy today, I took notes that I actually grabbed a little bit lower and I aimed for tension here. And that way, when I go back to it next week, I won't have to remember, wait, what was the position? And I also video every single top lift that I have, and I save those so that whether I go back to the lift a week later or a year later, since we cycle through a lot of these events year over year, I can go back in time and see what was my exact foot position, my hand position, how did I approach the bar? And I also use that for visualization before I go into a competition. So the night before, I'll watch my top lift and I'll think, I actually got that pretty easily. I bet I can do that tomorrow. And so the different ways of recording have definitely played a role in my journey.
Well, thank you for sharing that, both about the keeping, whether it's on your phone, on the Gravitas, on a old school spiral notebook, which I still use. I tried the Gravitas, but the spiral notebook for me, you're not going to take it away. I guess that's the teacher in me.
Yeah.
Pen and paper is still my preference there. But I agree with you. The video, the visualizing, you've exposed a lot of very good nuggets of information for our younger or newer lifters, or maybe people who haven't thought of this, who have been lifting for a while. And I very much appreciate you sharing your wisdom of what you've learned. More thing I want you to talk about before we need to wrap this up today.
Sure.
I think you train by yourself. I train by myself. Can you talk about the pros and cons of training by yourself and how that works for you?
Yeah, I mean, my schedule just makes it such that it is easiest for me to train by myself. I'm in my home gym right now, and one of the greatest investments I've made over the past 20 years was building this thing out, because I can wake up in the morning and 5 minutes later, getting into my mobility routine and start training. And they're just wasn't anyone else around who was willing to meet that schedule. Because sometimes I'm up at 4:30 in the morning to it, and sometimes it's 7:30. It depends on what the day looks like. So that ability to flex in the moment has been important to me. When I used to do strongman, I would have strongman Saturdays and invite a lot of folks over. And there's something about that sense of community, and I still love that. Just the flexibility and the ability to know exactly what to do, what to back off. Guess I've just learned how to be most effective that way, as I think you have as well.
Yeah, for me, it's also, I have a very busy schedule also. And for me, the convenience of walking into the garage and
Yeah.
having everything set up, and I'm very picky, as you picky about things, and have it just the way I want it,
Yep.
that leads to like calm, peace of mind that I can get in. And I tell my students, I don't leave until I improve at something in my workouts.
Yep.
So a couple times I get a little bit, I live literally 1 minute away from school now, but they're like, oh, man, you have a tough workout if they see me coming in a little later than usual,
Yeah.
because they know I'm not going to leave until I'm ready to leave.
That's a great approach.
So,
Great approach.
well, it's kept me hanging on here for this long. So
Yeah.
I'm trying.
I
Well,
love it.
Adam, thank you for these nuggets of wisdom. I look forward to seeing you very much in Las Vegas and
So,
mixing it up with you once again. And I want to have you on again where we can get into more topics that I think there are so many nuances to this 10 minutes of conversation that people are going to have to watch it more than once to fully absorb some of the things we said just now.
yeah.
But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and for coming here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ricardo. Great to talk to you.